We have a full house tonight on the Ascendant Art podcast. Special guest Culture Casino and Yeti Cast joining us this week with my co-host Slender.
I just want to point out, Yeti Cast is not a guest. He is, and I use the term loosely, a friend of the show.
That's true. Yeti is a friend
I
of the
don't
show.
know how to take that. I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
Well, I
It's
wonder if
both.
that means he'll give you like 5-second head start before he hunts your family in the backwoods.
I'm
5
going to
seconds
count
is
to
all I
10.
need.
Well, I would already like to lodge a complaint. That intro was way too short. There's no time for a nap or a fap. I'm very disappointed.
Well,
Rookie.
Because we're not using like 2 minutes like the dump. Oh my gosh.
where you just
I
go
worked really hard on. I worked really hard on that. Slender.
Yeah, I know. But they could cut like 45 seconds off and it'd be the same intro.
Are we
You
talking about the
wouldn't get-
Saturday or the Wednesday?
The Wednesday.
Either way, you wouldn't get a chance to do the doop-a-doo.
You'd be able to get one in there.
You got to be careful because we've noticed that with Steven especially, the do-to-dos take a little while. It's
Well,
like
Matt-
throw him off.
But that's Mad's favorite thing.
Yeah, well, Mad when he's there. Yeah, that's true. Mad.
Oh, somebody clip that.
Yeah, well, him coming nowadays is like a coin flip.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Matt would be the first to agree, Yeti, that he's not there every Wednesday anymore.
Never there.
All right, we got intros need to be as long as Culture's hair, an hour maybe.
There you go. Thanks, Jason. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, it's, Tina's
Tina.
in the house.
Hi, Tina.
Good. Hello, Tina. Tina's good people. She has a very special task that she does in her marriage that is pretty funny. I'd like.
Well, I don't think you should be talking about those behind the scene things on air.
No,
Yeah,
she talks about it on air.
No, she talks
calls
about
out-
this on air all the time.
She calls her job. Apparently, one of her main jobs is calling out hot girls that are of age for her husband to make sure he doesn't miss them. Which that's more power. Godspeed. There you go.
All I know is she's got a great eye for quality content, unless it's on Disney Plus.
She has some bad takes on the MCU. So, although
What, you didn't like Loki?
Loki was a piece of steaming shit, but
It was bad.
That's the angriest I've ever heard Chad.
because I liked Loki was one of the best characters in the MCU. He had a really good arc, even up to his death by Thanos. It was actually, if they let him die and let the
Dude,
character
his
die,
death by Thanos was the perfect end to a redemption arc. Like,
exactly where
good
he
to
was.
go. We're done with Loki.
Yeah,
Great way to
Loki-
send him out.
Loki was using his con man skills to try to save Thor and get his people out of Thanos' clutches, and he got straight up murdered. It was a perfect end to his arc, and it gave Thor a really good pathos for going after Thanos for that movie. And then and the multiverse is a really bad story idea for a lot of reasons, but eliminating consequences, and that's one of the first things that goes. I remember Heroes, that show that was really popular for like a hot minute.
Yeah, NBC, yeah.
Yeah, and the problem was it had time travel mechanisms from the start, so it was going to break down. And because
And to be fair, I mean, anytime you remove consequences, it allows the bad guys to try to make themselves look like the good guys. And again, it's all projection because of the people who are making this garbage now. Again, the first three phases didn't suffer from any of that. It's always the fourth and fifth phases that are bringing the bad. And again, it's because, look, these people can't help but project themselves and work out their guilt in front of their audience. I mean, just look at WandaVision and every other piece of shit that came out of it.
So I'm going to actually say that the Perlmutter MCU was good.
Oh, yeah.
and
Paramount to Disney, yeah.
Yeah, and that was very good. And Tina in here with her first bad take of the evening. that she's happy about getting Loki season 2 and Moon Knight season 2. Moon Knight season 2 is actually happening. They announced. I feel like that's not.
I'm
actually
surprised
gonna
at
happen.
both of those.
Nothing's
Honestly.
happening. No, wait, come on. Nothing's happening right now.
Well, we know Loki season 2 is happening because it's done.
Oh, it's done.
and in the
but-
can. But Moon
But
Knight
Moon
season
Knight-
2 is not happening. No, I
And-
feel like then.
And look, anytime you can fuck yourself, literally the way Loki's going to do to Loki, that's going to be weird.
So is Kang totally done? You think that
Yes,
he's
they're
no longer
rewriting,
going to be a villain?
they're rewriting
Oh,
King right now.
I feel
Okay.
like it'll be a different Kang because that's another thing with the multiverse. They'll just pull one out of their hat, and it'll still be Kang, but not Kang. And Bobby,
Yeah,
over
We
here-
should get the
There's two
trans
options.
Kang. That'd be awesome.
There's two options. You make
well,
the
no,
high
a
evolutionary
trans Kang
super-
wouldn't be allowed
option.
because he's trans Kang wouldn't. They wouldn't make a trans character a villain, not Disney. So,
They did. They have been. This is a weird thing. They have been making the black guy the villain lately.
That's true.
Yeah, they're making those inroads. Sooner or later, we'll get to T-Town.
Yep. And then we'll go to Town. We'll go to T-Town. That doesn't sound good. No, let's do that.
But like, do you see any route for the high evolutionary to be one of Kang's like versions? Because there's like millions of Kangs, right? Can't he be one of them?
I suppose in an infinite universe, multiverse, there's a possibility that Kang would be the high evolutionary. but-
I just,
Yeah, but don't ruin the high evolutionary. Like, you had a decent villain. Let that one simmer. Put
Okay,
something new in the pot.
I've got a second one that I doubt they're even looking at, and that's Red Skull. Because we saw Red Skull went intergalactic, and then he was
Planetary.
released after the Soul Stone's gone.
planetary,
That was a good Beastie Boys reference. Good job.
intergalactic.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
you're-
he's out there and he's
Well,
free
he's-
now.
Is he free?
Yeah,
To
he
do-
was
to do what he-
free once the stone was released. that was his job.
No, because he was there when
He was
well, I
there when
guess-
they returned it, right?
I guess technically it was in the past. That whole time, again, time travel is can be broke. So you
But they
gotta watch
break
out.
everything.
I-
Dude, and the stones don't matter anymore. They're freaking paperweights. So like
Yeah,
you just are pulling shit off the board all the time. Okay, death doesn't matter. These time stones are bullshit. All this. I mean, like fuck that. I mean, that's what Disney does now.
I think the officially he was released because his penance was over, and
Have you seen his face?
yeah, it's a Red Skull, so he's a good bad guy.
I mean, if you want a good, all right. So there's.
Tell me that
Kang-
can't work. You can't
So-
make Red
all right,
Skull.
There, I've
real
heard a lot
big
of
bad?
people who hate on Kang and think he's not a great villain. There was a really excellent comic series called Avengers Forever in the late '90s, early 2000s that featured Kang, and it was really well done. It was basically Kang fighting against his own future because if you remember the old comic books, Kang becomes Immortus. They were the same guy, and Immortus was an agent of the, basically time police trying to keep the continuity in order. And
Dude,
Kang
when they defeated
obviously-
him, did he become rigor mortis?
Oh, boo!
Oh.
Boo. How do I boot you? How do I boot you?
You
Oh,
don't
yeah,
have
that's
that
it.
power, Yeti.
It's
Ah,
But that was a really cool series because they actually pulled Avengers from different points in time to be
I hate all this time travel shit.
yeah, but it
ugh.
didn't have it wasn't a multiverse. It was just along the timeline, and then when they returned them, they didn't remember because of
Yeah,
memory.
but
wiping.
whether it's time travel or multiverse, it kills the stakes if it's not properly executed. Like,
but
there are no stakes.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. That's exactly it kill. I think Slender. You're right. I think you're onto something. It always kills the stakes. I mean, there is no death.
There is always a
there-
way to undo anything that has done up to and including death itself.
which
Well, it's-
also
except for
introduced.
Black Widow, because she's apparently staying dead forever.
But you're introducing an idea where now all the bad guys can use the same tropes you did, and now we have an infinite bunch of no consequence ever. So nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters.
To me.
Anytime writers introduce time travel, it means they ran out of ideas. That's what happens every single time the story gets bogged down and it's terrible unless
I will
the
tell you
premise
there's-
starts out with time travel involved.
There's only one movie that is a standalone where time travel works perfect, and that's Time Cop. Because saying
I did
physical
clarify,
matter
when the
can't
starting
occupy the
position-
same space at the same time was a brilliant time travel concept.
Yeah,
that-
but
but
the
that's
whole
starting
premise
out
of the
with the
movie was
premise.
built on that. Yeti's right
Yeah,
on that.
I know.
If,
All
Back-
right.
but
Back
when
to
it
the
gets
Future.
introduced,
Yeah.
like
It's not like regular Cop, and then all of a sudden season 7 comes along, and now it's Time Cop.
it's basically the writer is like, I have no more stories. Well, let's just go back to one of the ones I already did.
Season 3 was good.
It's just like Terminator 2 after
You're killing
one-
culture here.
Yeah, I was gonna say after Terminator 2, every sequel after that was a problem. 'Cause
Okay,
of the
so-
time
Yeah,
travel.
but culture, what were you gonna say about Back to the Future?
It's nearly perfect film.
I agree.
It is. Yeah, I
You
love
have
Back
made
to
the right
Future.
decision.
Yeah, and I look at the fact that I was told going into this stream that we would go off on tangents. I didn't realize it was going to be before we got to a subject to talk about. But hey, here
It's
we
how
are.
we do things.
That's
It's
right.
our
It's
show.
more of a guideline, really.
That guideline.
There's subjects.
It's like kind of a guardrail, actually. It's not even a guideline. It's there in case we get lost. So,
Yeah.
It's like a turnstile in New York. You jump it.
That's well, I mean,
Yeah, and then you
if
get on the train and you harass all the people riding.
Yeah,
Then
see,
somebody
like,
chokes you to death. Who knows?
well, you know,
welcome to the stream. Who's getting choked out, bitches?
We got
Well,
political.
it just
I-
it got political in
I
here.
put the infidels in the fireplace. So I'm just saying.
That's true. Like,
Yeah, I can
By
see
the
one
way,
back there
people-
right now.
if you go to New York or any of those places, your instinct may be to help defend people, but you're gonna get prosecuted for
You're
it.
gonna
So
have
just,
a bad time.
Just make sure you think about that, because you're not gonna have anybody who has your back at all trying to protect anybody.
The thing is, it's a super bad look now that all the evidence is out there. If they move forward with that case, I mean, because it continues to highlight the two-tier justice system. It's like, look, we want you to all be criminals.
It was a
Okay.
bad look from the
Regardless of
start.
the
Everybody
evidence coming
saw that it
out,
was bad.
Yeah, when we had the footage, one person was charged. It was the white guy who happened to be initiating the submission hold. There was also an African American and a Spanish gentleman who were both helping him subdue the man. Why haven't those two been charged? They're accessory
Well,
to the crime, are they not?
This
And
one
then they
was
put him in
bad.
a recovery position afterwards. So it's like
Mhm.
they're not trying to murder.
But
you know,
but if you are charging the Marine with a crime,
you have to
then
charge
the
the other
two who
people.
helped were accessories and should be charged.
And New York also, the case that came up a few months before that with the bodega clerk who got shot, managed to wrestle the gun away from the robber who had shot him, and then defended himself and shot the robber at that point, was then charged with murder before the uproar got so loud that they were like, okay, I guess that must be self-defense. And I was like, he waited till the guy shot him before he did anything. I feel like that's self-defense. Like, that would, to use the legal term, that would be perfect self-defense. Not to get too bogged down in it. Let's see. The Marine was also trying to perform CPR because the cop didn't know how to do it right.
That is
Yeah.
part of your military training. One of the first things you're going to get is CPR training, usually in boot camp.
So, politics. Just to stay out of New York. That's what I would do. I would stay out of New York City for a long, long time. And I'm a Yankees fan and a Giants fan. So I could see the Giants. They play in New Jersey.
You
But
just
I
do
would-
like me and Yeti. Go to the farthest corner of the wilderness and just kill anyone who comes into your territory.
Yeah. It works. It works great.
Well, in a nice segue, I think, speaking of things that are getting murdered, let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons as a business model. Because, Slender, this goes in, we've done some deep dives on Wizards of the Coast over the last few months and all the silly things they've been doing to try to monetize their player base.
Dude,
And
they
then
murdered
Slender-
their business model and we're just now discovering the bodies, but they've probably been in that garden for 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, they've been buried for a while. It's just, there was a shambling shell that was, moving every once in a while.
Yep. yep.
Slender.
That's in one of the
when's
monster
game
manuals,
gonna
by the
start?
way. Shambling
is.
shell. That's
Yeah,
a thing.
That is. That's why I brought it up.
So yeah, they're raising their prices 20% on their physical books. I noticed the subheadline: "Digital content will not see price increases," so that they can lock you into that ecosystem. Hopefully, that's their plan.
That's their plan.
Well, what's even crazier is if you buy a physical copy, you cannot use it online. Like there's no cross pollination.
No, you got to buy the bundle for that.
Which
What's
is
a bundle?
insane to think about. Like
There is
in
a
every
bundle
book,
where you can buy the book, you can get a hard copy of the book, and
I'm-
it comes with a digital redemption code.
that's insane.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, all of this stuff was in PDF up through edition 3. I mean, you can find it all out there, and so there's no reason to play with the new stuff. The 3 was fine. So
Yeah, here's
vote it down.
here's the thing. 3.5 fixed a couple of the problems. It's
Yeah.
not perfect, but guess
Yeah.
what? That's what house ruling is for.
Yep.
There are, and this is how deeply I started diving in. I compiled lists and did some maths, as it were. And
Mother God,
in the
you've got
8-year
into a
run,
list.
in the 8-year run of 3.5, which also included 3rd edition, there were 214 books published. That's a lot of damn books. In the 9-year run so far of 5th edition, they have published 43 books to be 46 by the end of the year because they got 3 more dropping later this year. That is 20% of what was being put out.
Yeah,
in
but
the 3.5
Slender,
run.
they added wheelchair ramps into dungeons.
Well, yeah, and I mean those orcs, they're getting so much better healthcare now that they're not all dying of heart disease.
So I mean that took a lot of work. They had to make concrete, and then in their head, and then magically imagine
But the
putting
point
it
being,
in
the
the
point
game.
being, in 9 years they have released very little content for 5th edition, and I think that's hurting it more than anything, because in 8 years, in 3.5, if I wanted to do something, I just had to go find the book that told me how. And
Well, that's
in that
because
rare
they
occasion when
fired
there
everyone
wasn't,
that's
you homebrew.
yeah. Well, they fired everyone that was creative and interesting and had an
And
imagination.
talented.
Yeah, they
Yep.
got rid of everyone in favor of woke idiots that
It's
can't
not
write
just
their
the,
own name.
Well, it's not just the woke idiots. When Hasbro purchased Wizard of the Coast, they reviewed and determined that the game was super under monetized in their opinion, and they brought in someone from Microsoft, specifically the Xbox division of Microsoft, to figure out how to properly monetize their player base. And what that means in 2023 is that they're going to go to digital subscription content because it's cheaper for them to put out.
Which
It's easier
is
for them
so
for the
dumb.
but it's also
bad.
easier for them to cancel you from getting access
It's
to it.
easier them to cancel you. You suddenly are paying subscription fees.
Mm-hmm.
It's tabletop RPGs as a service, which is not going to work. Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, tabletop RPGs, they have been heralded for the last decade of the last bastion of not subscription-based gaming. Like, you can sit down and you can play it, and I don't have to pay a monthly fee or any of that bullshit. And
Does,
just to give you some idea, in the
does
8-year
Warhammer-
run,
The
Warhammer?
Games Workshop, do they do subscriptions, or is it still
no, I mean, the problem with Warhammer is it's always been a really expensive barrier to entry. Like, if you want to make a 100-point army, you're probably spending hundreds of dollars.
You are, yeah. You're spending a lot of money for Warhammer.
So,
All I
like,
know is
I
I've
always
got a-
wanted to play it in high school, but I was like, I'm a broke teenager with a car that I have to spend $100 on every week just to keep it running.
But I've
I
got a
can't
Warhammer
buy
store.
Warhammer.
I've got a physical Warhammer store like right around the corner, and every time I drive by, I'm like, I want to go in and do this, but I can't pull the trigger because you're right. I just think of the expense I'd be adding into my life.
Well,
Dude,
that is
it's like getting a tattoo. Everybody wants to, but nobody wants to spend the money because you just can't justify it in your brain.
well, and it's and,
That's
and
why I
again,
don't have one.
Am I still here?
Yeah,
I think so.
There was a weird popping sound. Okay, I thought it was like, what happened? So the other problem with Warhammer is not only the barrier to entry, but then you're painting shit forever.
Which
that's
is
true.
fun, but painting
Sure.
one miniature vice 60 miniatures,
Yeah.
I'd say after about the third, I'm done.
I mean,
Well,
I still have the advanced D&D pewter figures that are unpainted.
Yeah, I have a box full of unpainteds, and then I have all the painteds on a
Yeah,
shelf.
so I can't imagine going 3 times the size and being like, and yet I know people that do it, and God bless them, because like some of them are like in our frame, but I can't do it. I've painted miniatures, plenty of them, lots of times, but at a certain point, you're just like, I can't paint one more of these angels. This is not gonna happen.
Right, but if I paint one little elf archer, that's gonna take me 3 hours.
More than that, you do it right.
I mean, I've seen those people on stream here on YouTube painting the Warhammer stuff, and they are not short streams to
No.
paint
Well, I
those
mean,
figures.
You and I have a mutual friend, little Chad, but he
Yes.
knows how to use like washes, and he does the shading with the washes, and he does like the rough paint really quick. Like he can belt one out a lot quicker than I could, because he's just really freaking
Now,
good.
yes, he can belt one out a lot quicker, but he also generally spends gargantuan
like a week
amounts of
painting
time
one figure.
painting things because he's getting paid and he's professional at it.
Well, and I mean, I have the airbrushing kits and everything else that you need to make them like premium, top notch, valuable. But they don't have that time. It's just like the tattoo thing and the money. You can't justify the time or the money. Although Warhammer's freaking awesome to play. So
Yeah,
I
feel like
It
I
is
think-
really fun. I played it one time with a buddy of mine who made a lot more money when we were in high school, and he let me use his Imperials army. And I figured out very quickly, okay, Imperials are just sacrificial as fuck. I just keep throwing bodies against it until it dies. And I managed to win because I started using the artillery to blow up my own guys while they were surrounded by Space Marines.
Nice. I know that we all need Henry Cavill to just sponsor our Warhammer gaming, and then we'll be fine. No,
well, then we'll be fine. Yeah.
we'll be fine. Now,
I mean, if Henry Cavill is successful with the Warhammer project,
Oh, it's going to be insane.
Games Workshop is going to see a huge bump in their stock.
Giant.
I don't know.
Right.
I feel like Games Workshop has a long history of screwing things up too.
Indeed.
Yes, but at least they're transparent about their dickitude, and they're not
yeah.
trying to tell us that they're doing the right thing.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it was getting back to like just this whole concept. I think it was Clownfish TV did a video today I had watched where they were talking about the right way to do this is actually kind of do the way printer ink is. They should make the lowest cost to remove the barrier of entry and lower the costs for these initial things, and then just make the money on the extras. Like that's the way you really I think could monetize Dungeons and Dragons better.
Well,
No,
actually,
culture go first, but I have a point too.
no, I just want to say this. Why do you need? First of all, I don't need you. I mean, as far as
I need you, culture.
No. But I mean,
hurt.
I didn't need TSR. All I needed was the initial set of books. I didn't need them to do campaigns. I didn't need to buy, private campaigns. I didn't need to do that. I wrote my own shit. And that's you are as good as your own imagination as a dungeon master to lay out all these games. The only reason that I buy your stuff is for your books, so that I have references that I can point to for all of my players. Right? Anybody
And you can align it to a mathematical system and add
yeah.
some randomness to it.
exactly.
And culture, I don't know if this is how you started, but like when I was like 9 or 10 with all my little buddies in middle school, right?
Mhm.
Like we wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, but we didn't have the fucking books. So one of us became the DM and just made shit up.
Yep.
Based off what all the other players told us they were going to be. And then we asked them, what do you do? And we would pretend like we knew what we were doing.
My biological father got me into RPG, right? And bought me for Christmas 2 manuals. Advanced D&D book, and the other one was a spy game that I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically like James Bond RPG. And it'll come to me during the course of the stream. But That's how I got into it. So I was immediately the dungeon master for all of my friends. And so it was paramount that I create things based on these books. I was fortunate to do that. But it's the same no matter where you start, Slender and anybody else here, that's you start from your point of imagination. I just need an idea what I'm doing here. If you've ever played it as a campaign player, you know what D&D is. You know what any RPG is. You've been through it. So it like I said, the only person that really needs the books is whoever's going to be the DM.
And we're still waiting on Slender to make the campaign for us.
Oh wait,
I'm still waiting on Mad to be ready to play.
I told you, you have to make the campaign and then say this is starting, and then he'll be ready.
Wait a minute.
You can't wait the other way.
Yeah, didn't Matt? Top secret. Thank you very much. That was the spy game. Good job, Jason. You get a point. But
even
no,
in our chat is undefeated.
my that was the weirdest thing. So my biological dad, with two of my brothers and some other kids, he was the DM for my very first top secret game. Seriously, he was that involved in it, and it was amazing. And now the guy's like 70 now, and he's 70 something, and that dude's still cool as F. And he's still down to do all the stuff that I do, or the grandkids do. I mean, you don't often find that in old people, but he's cool. But anyway, when all you need is the imagination with this game. That's why a middle finger can go up to these fuckers, because they're valueless. I mean, anytime a giant corp buys something that's pure, you're gonna get hosed, and I feel like we've been hosed by this company long enough.
That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's what I don't understand about every single time they bring up, we got to make it more inclusive. Bitch, you're using your imagination. How is it not inclusive in your head? Like, you're setting out your own rules.
But Yeti, these are all fucking fictional creatures.
Exactly.
How is that not inclusive?
Yeah,
that's
orcs
what I'm saying.
Are not black; they're green.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how are they saying, we got to do this? Like, well, everybody's using their imagination to just create what they want to happen. So just
go back into the literature, like some of the lore for some of, especially Forgotten Realms lore. One of my favorite book series is the Erevis Kale series, and there is Erevis Kale. He's fucking badass as fuck. But there is a book where they go down into the Underdark.
Is he gluten free?
He probably is, because he's a shade by the end of the series. But they go down into the Underdark, and they're basically in a city run by flying skulls who are very strict on the rules, that sell slaves to everybody. It is a slaver capital. That's not going to work anymore.
I just want to also point out, of course,
but they're
Yeti,
bad guys.
Of course, Yeti would be saying this kind of stuff. Look at him; he's a white monster, and we're talking about respect for monsters of color.
Actually,
I'm a white
blue.
monster as well. So
you've got a lot of white fur there. So
that's fur. That's not skin.
I feel like that's your privilege talking, Yeti. That's Yeti privilege.
Dude, once you get all that fur off, the blue pelt looks amazing as a lampshade.
I am going to find you. I'm going to string you up. I'm going to gut you. Culture, what just happened?
All right, then.
No, but this entire thing is just asinine, especially in Dungeons and Dragons. That it's not included. There was no reason to go out and put in the monster manual that is like, we have a wheelchair accessible dungeon.
We didn't need that. We didn't need what they did with the orcs. We don't need the drow to be relatable. They're supposed to be evil.
Yeah, and if you really wanted to do that, your dungeon master would let you.
Well, and most of them, except for the ones that broke off.
That would be Yeti Brahma. Yeti is the old guy.
The vast majority of drow serve Lolth. Lolth is an evil goddess of chaos and darkness. She's
not allowed to have darkness and chaos.
Well, the bottom line is what happened is that people who graduated from colleges after 2010 ended up working for these companies, and no matter what you try to do, you're going to be infiltrated by numbers, and they're going
Well,
to
it's
start
because
shifting
that's
your
what
company.
they were taught in college, which is why
Yes.
if you really want to tell a good story and be a real writer one day, please don't go to college. Please don't go to fucking college. They're not going to teach you anything you can't learn on your own.
I think I know was it Midnight's Edge did a great video kind of explaining ESG scores and how it impacts the corporate culture, and this is going to happen. It's the same thing. They recruit people who are schooled in these systems, and then they bring them into the company. So it was no mistake that it wasn't they probably didn't go even with intent to make these changes. They just were going to happen organically once you get these people into you let the wolf into the hen house, bad things are going to start happening because it's
yeah. I mean, and think about it. I mean, the entire HR department for Target is a bunch of wolves.
yes, and it's the HR department is the tip of the spear for this stuff, and people
Didn't Target lose like $9 billion?
More than that.
Yeah.
And
I know there was a conservative investment group that pulled like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, they just
today.
said.
I guess it's 9 billion and counting.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah. No,
counting.
I did the video on that yesterday. It was 9 billion when I recorded the video, which was the night before, and by the time got to publish, it was like closer to 11. I was like, oh boy,
Yeah, but that's also
you know what you
market
can't do with that
capital.
kind
That's
of
not-
loss. You can't tuck that loss. You can't hide it.
you can't.
Well, there's nothing left to tuck.
Exactly. And when you look at that video you just mentioned, Chad, the Midnight's Edge video, the follow-up video.
One.
Yeah, well, the follow-up video, and I just a little sneak preview, folks, going to be even more brutal. There's bring in like the fire, because it's going to include a bunch of stuff that they don't want out in the general public.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that we kind of talk about this in background.
Well, that's why
When
they
you-
talk.
When you work in finance, and that's day job, not exposing myself, but
No.
you can see this stuff. Like, I know there's a lot of people who want to think that I've seen one of the guys I know who's commented on his your boy Zach from formerly Diversity in Comics, now Comics Matter or whatever his channel's name now. He's
That's
kind
gotta
of
be the worst marketing mistake ever.
changing
Oh
that
my
name was
God.
terrible. But
Nobody refers to him by the new name.
Yeah, so he did some videos where he's like, I don't see any, where's this ESG? And I was like, I know that he makes a point of trying to be like, I read the Wall Street Journal. I was like, look, no, trust me, in finance, this shit is real, and you can try to, maybe you don't see it if reading the Wall Street Journal, but I guarantee you, when you're what he's not understanding is that when you're going to apply for your lines of credit and you have to start doing the forms and the paperwork and providing all the stuff, and they it used to be you just needed to give your DUNS number and things like that, and and provide your profit and loss statements. There's so much more that they are asking now.
People are just gonna lie. Like,
I have-
my great grandfather was black and Indian.
No, Yeti. They want like your friggin' reports from your payroll system to verify the percentages to make sure that you're meeting expectations. And I mean, again, I don't want to get too deep into some of that, because that's businessy stuff and it's going to drive people from watching the show, but it's happening. And if you're not in the business world doing it, it can seem like it's just an abstract thing, but I can tell you they are like, when you're applying, the lines of credit thing is a real thing. I'm really glad Midnight's Edge did that video, and I'm really glad they're going to do a follow-up, because that exposed
It's a
a lot of the
rubber band
stuff that you
effect,
can't
though,
really
right?
yeah
Like-
I couldn't by the way, it explained it so much better than I can, because when I'm talking, I get lost in the weeds of talking about, like, when I have to, as the finance guy, start going into the HR thing to pull, like, how many people of this do we have? How many of this? What is the percentage we've changed our hiring in the last few years?
Right,
And,
but it's a rubber band effect, because when you implement bad policy that requires you to basically invest in poor investments, like you're making poor decisions with the investment money, that costs. And as that cost continues to mount, eventually the rubber band snaps back, and now you have to make solid investments. And they don't have to be like, well, there's like a 60% chance this will work. It's like, no, motherfucker, we can't afford that 40%. You need 95 plus, or we ain't giving you shit.
Culture, do you remember what year it was that Disney finished buying Fox?
20 didn't they wrap it in 20? It's 2017 or 2018, I think. I'll have to look it up, but yeah, I
'Cause-
don't. They look. It's the worst deal ever made. 72 billion dollars.
Yeah, because I'm bringing this is their stock chart going back 5 years. So they are
$72 billion. You could fund a war in Ukraine for that kind of money.
so just looking at this chart.
No,
right,
that's nothing from the funding.
They are trading now at 88.29 was their last close, and look at where they were. That is lower than before they acquired Fox.
And it's sitting at pandemic level. Look at that.
Yeah, it's sitting at the pandemic level. It doesn't. So market cap wise, they went from basically having free cash flow in the 20 to 30 billion dollar range to
Yep.
maybe having a little less than 10. And this is what they're reporting, so I don't trust it, but
We
this is
don't-
what they're reporting.
Do you realize what the quarterly available cash and cash equivalents is? Because Mikey did that the other day.
Yeah, if you take away the liabilities,
Yeah.
it's only about $300 million, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And what people are not looking is and this is because they are a publicly traded company. I love this. You can, if you know and have the time and want to do it, you can look up all of their financials that they report. Their long-term debt is right now in the 70 to 80 billion dollar range.
Still.
Before they acquired Fox, I think their long-term debt was between 10 and 20 billion.
Yeah, it was sitting just over 20 billion. I think it's 22 billion on the day.
which was perfectly manageable at their cash flow level.
Oh,
yeah.
they're bad at managing their credit. It's just like me. When I max out my credit card, I keep making the monthly payments, but it's like I owe more next month.
No,
what the
it's
hell
not.
happened?
It's not a managing a credit. It's they bought Fox.
It's managing debt.
Slender. The Fox price was $70 billion. It's no mistake.
Listen, you just said they were over 80 at this point, so they've actually.
Yeah, well, that's because they added it. It's all the Fox money. Like,
Dude, you got to stop making those monthly minimums and put up some real money. Knock that debt down.
But that would be great, except they don't have it. This is, and this is the conversation you always get into here, right? Is they don't have any cash flow, and they haven't for a long time. And they're telling the state of Florida and anybody who's going to listen, Josh Amaro is telling anybody to listen, they're going to spend $17 billion on the parks in Florida. What they don't emphasize is that's
over 10 years.
10 years.
That's basically their operating budget on a yearly basis, amortized over 10 years. It's like they might, and like what I really want to know is if I was on that call, like if I ever, God willing, got on one of those investment calls and was able to ask the question, I would say, hey, you've told me that over 10 years you plan to hire 13,000 people. Is that like churn hiring where you're anticipating like these are just new hires but you're replacing current workers, or is this new hires on top of existing workforce?
They would
Because-
never
and that's
answer
the
that
difference
straight.
Because-
between
yeah, because the
hiring
answer-
You won't get
people
that.
and
Yeah.
increasing the workforce.
No,
Like,
because on the other hand, what Universal's doing, like to build a new park, you are going to hire and have thousands of people, like so incredible Epic Universe.
Yeah, that's gonna just real quick. That's gonna require 32,000 people.
Yep, because of shift work. What people don't realize is like you have multiple shifts during the day.
3.
Yeah, so whatever your work number is, you have to multiply that at a minimum by 3. Then you're gonna if you're really hiring for a business, you need to have a buffer because people call out sick, and you need to make sure you have a capacity to absorb illness and absenteeism and all those other things. So yeah, so when your workforce number is generally, you're going to want to have 1.5 times your actual number to cover those shortfalls.
What people don't realize, theme park business, it requires a lot of backstage people that you would never even know existed.
Like the maintenance guys who are oiling the animatronics on a nightly basis.
Or how about this? Any infrastructure person, anybody that's involved in moving things from one place to another, that's logistics. You've got a whole group of people, and this park's not located right next to these other 2 parks, right? It's a little jaunt. So you're going to have to make that little jaunt. So, they have to expand their DC workers and all that other stuff. I mean, they have to actually go to work here. I have a feeling that when is it Boeing or one of the defense contractors actually owns the land or sold them the land, and they have more land, but I think they're pulling out of that location and moving to a different part of Central Florida. When they do that, I think Universal has like essentially told them, we will buy your land.
I think they have an option on it, maybe
Yeah.
already negotiated.
Yeah, no, I know
Yeah.
that exists.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah, so the Universal and they're also having to do this operating under the same rules as everybody else, and they've managed to do it. And the reason they can do this is because what people don't realize is that Universal is a Comcast company.
Yep.
And Comcast has been getting more and more money off the broadband internet subscriptions on a month. Like, everyone's worried about cord cutting, but you know what? I have people who work for Comcast I'm very close to, and one of them was telling me about how much stupid money they're getting out of the the government right now, because what the new infrastructure, whatever that boondoggle that passed was, has what's called rural broadband initiatives, and Comcast is.
When you're done with this, I do want to go back to the cord cutting statement.
Yeah, but when they are going to get billions of dollars from the federal government to get new subscribers in the rural
and there's
country.
an escalator. There's an escalator in that in terms of delivery time. They actually get escalated funds if they push forward beyond the what do you call it if they beat the time frame.
The timetable. Yep.
Yeah.
It's basically it's what we did. If you want to go way back when we wanted the the Transcontinental Railroad finished,
same thing. Yeah.
The first company that got them connected got to get the rights and the bonus money and a lot of other things. So there was a race was on. Comcast is the company most equipped to get all of this money. Like, everyone
Google Fiber is doing pretty decent too.
Yeah.
But, no.
Yeah. So
and going back to cord cutting,
this
cord
isn't
cutting
about
is dead.
Target.
Cord cutting is dead. They've ruined cord cutting, because the whole idea behind cutting the cord was, okay, I'm not paying the cable company $200 for 5,000 channels, 4,998 of which I don't even use. I'll just get one or two of these internet services that cost me $5 a month, and instead of $200 a month, I'm paying $10 a month, and I'm getting to watch all the things I want to watch. But then everybody and their fucking mother decided, well, we'll just do our own streaming service. We'll do our own streaming service. We'll do our own streaming service. And they originally cost like maybe $4.99 a month, and then it was $10.99 a month, and now it's $18.99 a month or $22.99 a month.
Now piracy's back.
And at the same time, Slender, you're 100% right on all of that. They've actually halved their revenue on content delivery.
Well, and well, the problem is when you start your own streaming service, guess what? You need to be able to provide me with a whole bunch of shit to stream. So, like Disney Plus, it's no longer about quality; it's volume, volume, volume. We don't need good shit. We just need as much shit as we can possibly put on the service.
I'll tell you, there's two people who have who are really ahead of the curve and will be best positioned. So if anybody wants, this is not financial investment advice, but again, take it as you may, because this might be. Rupert Murdoch took Disney's stupid money from Fox, and for only a few $100 million bought a service called Tubi, which is what's called a fast service, free ad-supported television, or streaming, but it's television.
Yep.
And that service is already turning profit, because what he does is he goes back and he licenses old shows like All in the Family or Party of Five, whatever decade of television you like. My wife, I know, watches, I think whether it's on Tubi or Pluto, she watches Three's Company reruns.
There you go. Yeah.
And it's cheap as dirt to license those shows. They're already done. You can have them going all the time. And he makes money off that, just putting ads on it.
And they started making original content for Tubi as well.
They did.
but they're gonna keep it costs low.
But they're still producing
But-
original content along with that extra stuff.
You have it's interesting though. You both are correct, and I'm watching these fast services, which I've been reporting on now for a couple of years.
Yes, you have.
Exploding in growth. Couldn't believe it. Can you bring Bobby's comment back up real quick? Because that's well, that almost made it on the screen. Would you guys at the same time? There we go.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like,
How about this, little chat? Let me handle the comments. Stop
All right,
writing that
you-
shit.
All right, there we go.
Bobby says Netflix just made some comment about charge. It's already happening for shared accounts. not only that, there if you have somebody that doesn't live in the same household in the same country, they're adding an additional $8 a month
per
for
person.
Yeah, per person for that to happen. I mean, Netflix is chasing their customers away, and there's already evidence to
Did
show
that really
that
happen though? I thought
Yeah,
that was
it
a
is
few
happening.
months old, and
No.
the backlash
No,
caused them to back off.
They
No,
were
it's
going to
happening
roll
now.
it out. Yeah, they were going
Oh,
to
now
roll
they're
it out.
doing it again?
Yeah, it was going to be around January that they were going to roll it out initially, and it got they got public backlash, so they just waited and snuck it out.
Yeah. See,
About-
that's the thing that
no,
pisses
no,
me
no.
off
So
because
they
like
waited in the U.S. They went forward in Canada and
a couple other
I think
countries,
the
yeah.
UK.
well,
as
Canada's not
the
even a
test
real
areas.
place. It's like Australia. It doesn't really exist. It's just
Wow.
part of America.
They exist to protect you from Russia, motherfucker.
Really?
Wait,
you keep
Alaska's
inviting
right
China
next to
in to do
Russia.
your training ops, so you're not protecting us from shit.
Yeah, and not only that, don't you have
Who
like,
had the balloons?
you have secret Chinese police stations all over your country.
So does the U.S.
Yeah, so
No,
do we,
we're busting those
unfortunately.
MFers right now.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, so
no,
you're
we're only
busting them.
busting-
They were operating for years.
Hold
Well,
on.
I mean,
Don't
I
give
need-
me all this.
just-
Don't get up on your high horse when
Hey,
you've been having those.
You know what? In the private
Running
chat,
around.
I give you an example of why we had them here in the first
Yeah,
place.
yeah, Yeti, just bear in mind that we're only busting the ones that don't send 10% back to the big guy. If they send
Dude, here's the problem.
if they
with
make
the
their
whole
payments, they
I
are
don't
still
know if
going to be
culture
around.
is right or if Yeti is right, but I'm going by the 80-20 rule, and 80% of me thinks the culture is smarter than
Oh,
Yeti.
you
so-
motherfucker! I am going to find you. I'm going to rip your intestines out your asshole.
Wait, did you say intestines?
Wouldn't be the first time.
Oh, it's so Canadian.
Wow. Isn't that just called fisting, Yeti?
Oh.
This is called a good time. Don't you
Well,
threaten me
I
with
don't
a
want
good
to know
time.
what you guys do in your bedroom.
To be fair, okay, at this point, because Brahma may be in chat, it is required for me to point out that Yeti does, based on Yeti lore, have two assholes. So it's-
Jesus, you
That is
can't go an
actually true.
episode without bringing
I
that
was
up.
I was actually present when we discovered he had two assholes. I did not know that.
yeah, that way Brahma can be happy that he
Yeah,
doesn't like to
Brahma
make
has to bring that up every
every
single
time. Every time.
And now you're pulling his dirty work. You're running the buckets for him.
Well, I mean, look, I look after the lore. That's what I do. But yeah, so
Because the canon matters.
but getting back, so I brought up Rupert Murdoch with Tubi and what David Zaslav is doing with Warner Brothers, where
Right.
he is licensing out like a lot of So
Yeah.
here's a subtle difference people need to understand between a write down and pulling content to license. Because what Disney did and what Warner Brothers did with a lot of content was a write down, meaning it can never see the light of day, or they have to reverse the tax loss, and there's a lot of paperwork on it. Now, what Zaslav did for a lot of other stuff, like this was Westworld and some of those other HBO shows that people made a fuss when it got pulled. He's pulling it to license it to these fast services.
Yep.
So that's like in a few weeks, you might see him show up on Roku. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Including
So-
their own,
yeah,
because Warner
include-
Brothers starting their own or has started their own fast service. So it's like, oh no. Anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
so like it was, I think it was well publicized a couple years back that Friends was generating $100 million a year to Warner Brothers from Netflix to license it.
Yes.
What I think what I anticipate is going to happen now that they've relaunched as Max, which I think I don't like that they pulled the 4K support to a higher price, and there's some other things, but
I think they're stupid for renaming it Max.
yeah, HBO Max was fine.
or just HBO.
Yep.
Oh, and you never had to change it. It could have just been HBO forever.
Yeah,
It's
so
dumb.
I think
It's just
what they'll
because
do
that's
is
got no family element.
yeah. So they went with
Down
Max,
at
which is
Fraggle-
synonymous with Cinemax, which is synonymous with Skinamax and
Down at
softcore.
Fraggle Rock, man.
Yeah, I mean,
The
I'm
one
sorry.
show, the rest is like pure nudity
Yeah. Do you
with good
in-
story.
In Canada, did you guys have Cinemax? Was that
I
allowed
don't
up
know.
there? Right. So
I
Cinemax
don't know
was,
if we ever had it in the household.
I can tell you that in the 80s and 90s, when you were a 12-year-old, Cinemax was the channel you wanted. So
I remember there was a channel like that.
Yeah, because if,
so
if your parents let you stay up on a weekend night,
after 11 p.m.,
Yeah.
and it was like on the dot at 11
Red Shoe
p.m.
Diaries, right? Little
Oh,
Shack?
that's the show I remember.
That was
is-
Showtime.
That is the
actually,
show.
That was
yeah,
Showtime.
same thing.
Well,
it was Skinamax and those. They all had that stuff. Yeah.
You know what was
Dude,
weird
that
is
was
that
always the goal in middle school. Was your friends would be like, "You have cable, right? We should do a sleepover on Friday night.
All right.
what was
Wait till
crazy
your
to
parents
me.
go to bed and then watch Red Shoe Diaries."
Yeah,
but,
and then
uh,
you got the one awkward friend who's like sitting in the corner, just like sweating because he's just a little too excited.
That's weird.
HBO was also no, HBO was Emmanuel, right?
No, that was Cinemax, I think.
Dang it. Okay, because HBO had some of those, but
HBO had their show was Real Sex that they would do.
Oh, that's right. Real Sex. Like
they did
1, 2,
Taxi
12.
Cab Confessions.
Yeah. Well, before
HBO did like documentary ones to try to stay out of like saying that they were doing it.
I'm so old, right? I'm so old that that I remember something that used to be a UHF scrambled channel called On TV.
Oh, nice.
And you had to have a set-top box that looked like it was like half of a VCR. It was freaking enormous. And it had a knob on it, and you literally went from off to on. But you had to turn your UHF to a certain channel location. And it was great because it was like they delivered like premium movies to you through UHF if you had that thing, and you could turn on the unscrambler. And if you didn't have the thing, you would obviously you remember the kids that would be there at the TV on the UHF watching the scrolling.
Of course,
art.
Cena had it.
There's a boob. There's a boob.
Yeah, that was what was made famous for people who might remember the beginning of American Pie.
Yes.
When he was watching the scrambled pay-per-view channels. Yeah, which I think. Man, that movie was hilarious at the time and would be so banned right now. I'm surprised they haven't pulled it.
I'm so glad I have it on Blu-ray. Could you imagine not being able to watch that ever again?
I mean, the idea.
All those. Didn't we bring this up last week? Like all the college, high school movies are gone. There has been nothing out in the last 5 to 10 years. That good college movie?
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and you're 100% right, Yeti, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't there a controversy? Somebody was actually going to release the uncut theatrical version of Porky's.
I think that may have been. I didn't even get big enough for me to have seen that. It probably was. I remember, was it like right out of the pandemic when they first started reopening theaters? One of the things that they put out like as one of the anniversary shows was Cruel Intentions, and it was a movie that came out when I was in high school. So I was like, oh, I haven't watched this in forever. And that was back when theaters were like $5, and because they were trying to get people in again. So me and my brother went and saw like Cruel Intentions for its whatever anniversary year. And I was watching this and I was like, oh my God, this movie could never happen today. Every scene was like, this is not allowed, this is not allowed, this is not allowed. And this was just a movie from like 1997 or 98.
Yeah, because there's a new age of Puritanism. And it's woke Puritanism. It's so backwards.
But Porky's came out in 82. Right?
Yep.
We were just coming out of
the best year.
We were just
just
coming out of the age of Jimmy Carter's hell.
Yep.
And a war. And a whole lot of other stuff. And Porky's
the malaise, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that peanut farmer fucked us. But,
he gave away the Panama Canal, which is now run by China.
But on the subject of not having a good college movie lately, well, yeah, we don't have a good college movie lately. They don't want you to know what they're teaching your kids in college.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Like they don't want you to know what's going on there. They don't want you to know what the social structure look like. They don't want you to know what the professors are saying. That is like the fucking. It's the Illuminati up in that shit.
If you want a good college like movie to show you what's going on now, there's some documentaries on what's called the Cultural Revolution in China, in the Mao's Cultural Revolution. That's going to tell you what's going on in our colleges.
It's such a romper.
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, we should be like if you want to know what I think was a good one, and this came out in like 1993 or 4, was PCU.
PCU was fucking perfect.
It was so ahead of its time. I've shown people the clips from it. It is hilarious. You've got, all the different groups protesting. There is a scene in line where the different groups are arguing over who should be first in line because of how they've been oppressed.
Dude, I love the part where they go up and they throw all the meat on the vegetarians.
Yeah. It is. Let me see. I think
Like the closest thing we're getting to the college movies is them bringing back old shows like Clone High, but then adding in wokeness to it. Like Clone High was hilarious back in the day, and the new animation design and characters are just awful. They're horrible. They don't fit in at all.
Is Clone High like a Canada thing? Because I've never heard of it.
Seriously, you never heard of Clone High, man?
Nope. Anybody
Okay,
else?
so
Anybody?
Clone Eye.
Clone, it was an animated show about different clone figureheads like Lincoln and JFK that just are all cloned and in going to high school together. It's
go.
it's hilarious.
Let's see.
I'm a black man. There's no justice for me here in America. I should be at the front of the line.
Yeah, well, I'm gay and subject to ridicule and discrimination wherever I go.
Women are oppressed throughout the world. Give it a rest.
Thank you.
That was.
And this was recorded in
1994.
'94. I feel like I saw this yesterday.
You
Because
did on an actual college campus.
The difference is this was a comedy in 1994, making fun of how stupid that was.
The Oppression Olympics was already in full swing.
Yeah,
I mean, and that is the point where we've finally reached. Like, the jokes are no longer jokes. The absurdity has become our reality.
it is. It's
Which is also why they're scared of comedy. Like
exactly because
you can only ridicule the extreme, and they are the extreme. They would not put up with that.
If we, I would want to sponsor screenings of PCU across the country at colleges to try to get freshmen to see the absurdity of what they're doing in the context of, a comedy. Because when I remember watching this,
call up Mr. Beast, see if you can do a GoFundMe or something.
yeah, like Mr. Beast and his friend are gonna sponsor that.
Well,
You're
yeah,
assuming they would watch. They would just scream at it so no one can actually hear what's going on. So they won't learn anything.
Tina with a good take for once. The perfect college movie is Real Genius. That movie is fantastic. I watch it all the time.
Okay, Real Genius is one of those that I can go back to and watch and feel good about every time I watch it.
Yeah,
Mitch, it's easy to lie to you. You're a kid.
It's so good. Yeah, and just I just loved it. What did you think they were gonna do with a giant mirror and a laser?
Yeah, Laszlo's like, what would you use that for?
Is nuking someone from orbit. Come on, man, you're smart.
No, he's like, and Mitch is like, well, the uses are limitless. He says, no, something that strong is only really have one purpose.
Yeah,
it was so great, and I'm like, dude, and that guy that does Laszlo is beautiful, man. That was amazing.
Yeah, and then at the end, he's like, I figured out how many statistically entries I need to make to win this percentage of the prizes.
The Frito-Lay, enter as many times as you want sweepstakes. It was so good. Yeah. I won 64.5% of the prizes. It doesn't really work out, but I'll figure it out later.
Exactly. Oh, it was that. So people, they did a show. So at the Alamo Draft House near me, they do screenings of old movies, and they had Real Genius playing, and I was like, I wanted to go, I should have gone. So on the other hand, I did go see Masters of the Universe this week, and that was fun to watch in a theater with a group of people actually enjoying it. So but yeah, Real Genius. College movies are not like, how do you make a college movie that's fun now? They're just not. That's why they're missing.
Colleges suck. There's no fun in college anymore, dude. So one of my friends
Revenge of the Nerds could never happen. I mean,
one of my friends just went back for their advanced degree. They went back for their master's, right? And
gross.
They suffered for 2 years under the yoke of the woke, and we're like, this is unbearable.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me, because I mean, when I was 19 years old, college was just not working out for me, so I joined the Navy and I served 14 years. Yeah, it was great. It's a little different now. Like things have shifted quite a bit, which is part of the reason I got out in the first place.
Which is why that YMCA song makes even more sense now.
But
He
yeah,
succeeded because he was great at giving out blowjobs.
I mean, I can blow you off course. I'll tell you that. But
He's very handy.
but I'm in my mid-30s. I get out. I'm doing cybersecurity for a major group, like one of the major Beltway bandits. And then they tell me like you should get your degree. You know, it'd really help if you got your degree. So I start doing like online courses for cybersecurity, and I'm like, I already know all this stuff because I've been doing the job for a year, and I hate these people. I hate these professors. I hate these students. I hate everyone I have to interact with on a daily basis for this. Why? Why am I doing this? So
they can justify it.
Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with
about a year and a half, 2 years, and then I just was like, no, I'm done. I'll go get some freaking certifications and I'll call it good. I don't need this.
Yeah, it was all for their benefit. It has got nothing to do with the way you're able to do the job. It's you were good enough, but to make themselves feel better, like, oh, we should be paying some guy with an actual degree. When it would have made no difference.
Education, the minute that education was allowed to be converted to a travesty with the University of Phoenix by George Soros, we had a problem. When it came to college,
along with and that's also correlates perfectly with free student loans. Basically, well, I shouldn't say free, but government student loans instead of private. In the old private student loan days, you had to actually be like, hey, I'm going to get a job with this money and with this degree, and here's how I'll pay you back. Then it turned into the federally subsidized student loans, which became, you're going to college, here's money.
Yeah.
And I mean, I paid back every dollar I borrowed. It wasn't easy. I
feel like a jackass.
I used my GI Bill.
I paid off my wife and I's student loans, and I paid them off early, and I was all proud of it. And then I'm like, I shouldn't have done that because I could have got a free ride. What is going on?
Well, I feel okay. So here's the thing, though, and I'm a little older than y'all, but I literally paid on the way. I paid as I went. I had opportunities for full ride scholarships. I didn't take them because I fell in love with a woman. And, I didn't want to leave the situation I was in. So I worked my ass off. I worked 3 jobs. I went to school, started my own businesses, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody's incentivized now to do that. And that's another major problem. College, getting a degree is not a leg up. If you want to make real money, Slender Dad, become an HVAC technician, become a plumber, become an electrician. The minute you start your own entity and enterprise, you will vastly exceed the wealth that even a doctor can accumulate at this point in time.
Oh yeah, the skilled jobs are like extremely lacking right now. I mean,
if you
Mike Rowe will set you on the right path if you are a teenager looking for something to do with your life right now.
Yeah, and if you're a woman and you decide to be an auto mechanic, you are going to make more money than God.
Well, God knows if you can wear a low-cut jumpsuit.
Yeah, start an OnlyFans.
No, but the reason that I'm being serious about that is because there are still, what do you call them, diversity quota bullshits that are happening.
So they'll hire you and pay you above, and everybody will compete to pay you.
Yeah, and you will be competed for a change, and if you are more than qualified, if you are excellent at what you do, the sky's the limit, and maybe you'll become, the engineer. What do they call them? Engineering supervisor at an auto mechanics place or whatever they call that. There's, like you said, take advantage of the opportunities as they present themselves. But I'm just telling you right now, nobody wants to clean toilets or plunge toilets. Nobody wants to sweat being an electrician. Nobody wants to. Nobody wants to do any of these skilled gigs. HVAC guys make $1 billion for no reason.
Yep, and it's just putting some, I had to, when I ran some businesses, the person who owned the company wanted the AC in the middle of summer in Virginia set to like 66 degrees. So our HVAC was constantly overworking itself and needing maintenance, and so constantly calling these guys out. I'd see the bills, and I was like, "Holy shit,
dude! That's not even the real win. The real win is after you've done the You've been an apprentice. You've got your journeyman. You've become a master. Now you're the guy who does the inspections.
Yep.
Like those fuckers, as far as I can tell, they are on their own clock. They do the job whenever they decide to, and they get paid through the fucking nose.
Well, and once you've worked your way through that system, then you have options. You can become a general. You can, and then it's just a matter of supervising permits and guys doing jobs, right? And once you get a good crew together, I mean, I know people that flip houses that do really well, because basically they're their own GC. They're their own general contractor. They buy a house, they evaluate it, they bring in a designer, boom, turn the house. Now, that's going to be few and far between because the economy sucks rocks right now, but the idea is still sound. If you own a business, and especially skilled labor, like Slender was saying, you will be better off. And this is something we should be teaching kids, right? We shouldn't dissuade them from going into trade schools. Trade schools, they get you 2 years ahead of everybody else, and at the end of the road, they make you vastly more wealthy.
Well,
Here's
and
something
it's a simple numbers game of supply and demand, right? Like
Yep.
everybody's going to college now, so guess what? Your highly trained professionals, they're a dime a dozen.
Here's
Your
one
skilled laborers, they're rare right now.
I will tell you right now, if you are coming out of high school and you just want to get a decent job that pays well, for about $2,800, you can do what's called a certified payroll professional boot camp, which is basically, there's what people don't realize is there's professional organizations for all these different job roles.
Oh yeah.
And these ones, when you get this one, it's a boot camp that leads you into a guaranteed pass. You're guaranteed to pass if you pay this boot camp and go to the classes, and you get out what's called a certified payroll professional designation, which is a little certificate of completion that says, hey, I can run payroll for companies. The average salary, and this is something you can work remote doing, is around $70,000 to $80,000 a year for somebody with that certification. And you don't have to have anything but a high school. You don't even need a high school degree.
No, you don't. Yeah.
So that is, to me, it's one of the more value. Like that is one of the easy value to cost ratio certifications.
I'll give you another one. I'm not sure, but back in the day when I was doing IT, you could actually get all of your Cisco certifications for right around 12 grand. You could have them all, including the chief technology officer level stuff. And by the time you got to that level, the entry job at that point was, $250,000. And we're going back 20 years now, 24 years now. The equivalent types of certifications are out there still for vastly discounted prices. Your entry level salaries are ridiculous. And all you need is the piece of paper that says you're certified in X.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
so it's ridiculous, and the idea, and again, I'm not downplaying education. Education is good. The problem is we don't have that anymore.
Well, I think one of the things is these certifications are what education used to be, which was practical knowledge to help you do something.
Yeah, and college has just become, can you suffer under our weight of bullshit?
Yep. And that, like, engineering might be one of the last bastions in college that is still kind of functional, where it actually requires you to do some stuff, but I'm sure that one's
here's
falling
the thing.
soon.
All the professors, all the giant HR department that basically consists of half the staff of a college, like they're all overpaid. I was watching, I think it was Disparu, it was a 2-week-old video, but like talking about the writers' strike. Do you know the writers who are currently on strike average $200,000 a year salary?
It's a little.
Dude, what the fuck do you want more money for?
There is a little bit of give and take because they sometimes they won't work for a couple years.
And also I'm going to introduce a qualifier, and I understand your outrage, and I'm with you, Slender. What I'm going to say is this: if you're living in a local area, if you're in LA, that's nothing.
Well, Slender knows.
I'm in the DC area, which is just as bad, which is why I moved as far away from it as possible and live right on the border on West Virginia side.
I was going to say you're in Virginia, one of the Virginias. Yeah, well done. All right.
He would say West by God, best Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia is best Virginia.
Yeah, well, as long as you can keep your politics straight there. Work on that.
Well, in West Virginia, yeah, you're gonna that one's like 80% red.
Dude, this
so,
is the second reddest state in the union.
yeah. So
Dude, okay, so right now, like Florida's like 70% like red. I was like, oh shit, really? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I think, education is just a mess. And
Well,
hey,
it's been a mess for a long time. And can we go off on another tangent? Because this
of course, this is what we do.
have we been through one topic? Oh, yeah, we did. We made it through the
Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
former TSR greatness is what we made it through.
Yep. So, what's the tangent you'd like to go on now?
He already forgot.
I mean, it's been a while.
You want to go through the second topic that I briefly mentioned when we were talking about our show directions for tonight?
Wait, there was a topic? Was there two?
Did you know they made a Gollum game? I didn't. Topic over.
Okay, I didn't know they made a.
Oh yeah,
I know
the
that.
screenshot looked
Hold on.
horrible.
It
I
looks
know-
awful, and apparently it is right now the worst rated game of 2023.
Gollum
A game about
from Lord of the
Gollum.
Rings. From Lord of the
Yes.
Rings. Okay.
Well,
I thought you were
Daedalic
talking about.
entertainment.
Did
I
you-
need it. Okay,
Yeah.
I need way more information. What?
It's a
Gollum.
video game with Gollum in it. It's
By-
about Gollum.
Yeah.
It was made really, really bad.
And it's by Daedalic Entertainment. I think generally they do kind of like the story driven ones, like The Last of Us, and like look up the picture. I'm sure you can find a picture of the Gollum from the game. It's
Whoa!
I mean, it's Kotaku, so I'm sorry for using that link. It was the first one I could find.
Ugh, Kotaku. Oh god, I just got eye AIDS.
yeah.
Oh, you play as Golem? Oh no.
Yeah. It's a game about Gollum.
Which
If that
that
doesn't
sounds
sum up
cool.
If
Not
if
really.
that doesn't sum up 2023, like, oh, you're gonna.
You don't
be
think a game about Gollum would be cool?
Dude, here's the thing, Yeti, you fucking dumbass, and I love you, but you're a dumbass. If you were
Fuck
told,
you, you're a dumbass.
if you were told you can be any character from the Lord of the Rings you want, I would think Gollum would be the very last fucking character you'd pick.
Well,
I'd rather be
no. See, this is why you're such a dumbass. Because the rights to the other characters are already taken, and games have been made about them. That's why you're such a dumbass. Because there's only one character left, and that's Gollum.
But look at the character design, man. That's just.
Dude, Gollum is the
Oh my
character
God.
when you want to make a game, a Lord of the Rings game about a character. Gollum is the character who got picked last during Dodgeball, and when he was the only one still there, the team captain who still had a pick was like, "Can we just not pick him? Can he just sit in the bleachers?"
Tina adding that Mr. Bojan is rolling his eyes over a Golem game just like we are. Look at those eyes, man.
No. I'm upset about the hair, but that's fine.
I don't know what's going on with that hair.
Yeah, it's
Like-
normal. It's normal for me to be upset about hair, to be fair. But wow. Inconceivable. This would not have been my first go-to for a character-driven game. So Daedalic tries to mimic what? Telltale Games? Or
Yeah,
something?
they're very Telltale style. Yeah.
Okay.
If it's Telltale style, then you're not running at high graphics. So you could put a lot more into the animation. Because it doesn't have to like render it in real time, right?
The only Telltale game that I really enjoyed was the Wolf Among Us one, which was.
that one was so good.
That one was
And then I
great.
stopped playing all the others.
That's one more than I enjoyed because I think Telltale is overrated as fuck.
No,
I
the
like my
Wolf
games
Among
to
Us
actually
one,
have
that was
game
legit.
mechanics in them because
Well,
I mean it's
if you
fucking game.
if you haven't ever read the book that it's which a lot of people think that the TV show Once Upon a Time was ripped off, like
Oh, and they
Oh,
ripped
dude.
ripped them
Okay,
off.
so
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of ripoffs, this really bothered me today. James Cameron has never really had an original idea of his own.
no, he takes and
I mean,
repurposes.
the levels of plagiarism this dude is like delved into is retarded. I couldn't
He's
believe
really
it.
good at being
was
retarded.
because was the Abyss might be the only one I'm thinking was kind of his own.
No, that
thing.
was a ripoff too.
Was that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Titanic was like
Somebody-
the Poseidon Adventure, but real story.
No, but actually that was a legitimate ripoff from somebody else's idea about the Titanic. But by the way, have I ever given you my one sentence description of the Titanic?
Go ahead, go for it.
Woman sleeps with homeless man, drowns him.
Correct. I don't know if you've been on stream with me when I've told this story, Slender, but it's hilarious because I worked at an AMC for almost a decade, and the first year I was there was when Titanic came out in '97 in December, and I remember
you're old.
Yeah, so we got a staff.
We're all old here,
Yeah.
Yeti.
we had what used to be called staff screenings where you got to see the movie ahead of time because they'd send you the print. You'd have to put it together and make sure it actually was proper to air on the screen for the paying audience. So we got to see it, and I watched that thing, and I came out of it, and I was like, "This is the biggest piece of shit. There's no way it's ever making its money back." And damned if I wasn't wrong. But we had people like these teenage girls, man. They would come here, and we had one girl who came like every weekend and would buy tickets to this to the show. And
That's
then
because Lil Chad doesn't understand the teenage girl.
No,
Dude,
but
she's got a giant lady boner for old boy.
But it gets even better because it's culture. I don't know if you remember in the malls where they used to have the artists who would draw like the celebrity paintings.
Caricatures and stuff.
She bought the one of Leonardo DiCaprio in his Titanic stuff, and she brought it with her. She would buy 2 tickets. And she would sit it next to her in the chair.
No.
Dude, that is what you call a psychopath.
No, but
how ugly was she? Like, how many cats?
No, and
how much cat urine was stuck to her clothing?
These girls took that thing so seriously, man. You would walk the show because you had to get it ready because it was getting close to ending. And at the end, when she breaks,
slip and slide in the aisles.
No, when she breaks.
Oh, come on, that was funny.
Yeah. When she breaks Jack off the door and lets him sink and goes, "I'll never let go," or whatever. I was in a show where girls were yelling, "You fat bitch, get off the door." And I was like, my God, these people.
I think you have been in streams with me where I have said the only good part of that movie is when the dude bounces off the prop on the way.
Oh my God, I laughed so hard in the theater at that.
I did too. It was funny. I wasn't in the theater because, like a real man, I didn't go see that in the theater.
Well, it was that movie, and let me tell you about when this was back when film was actually film, and when that movie had to change theaters to go to a different theater, it would take 3 or 4 of us to carry that thing.
Oh yeah, because there's so many reels.
It was so many reels, and so when you put it together for a platter, you were just carrying it, and you didn't want that thing to fall because then you'd have to put it all back together.
You had to hand put it back in place. Holy cow!
Did. Yeah, because. I was a trained projectionist, and I look at, about 13, 14 years ago, AMC eliminated all projectionist positions because they went completely digital. And they did that once the cost of digital projectors for every theater was going to cost them less than the cost of employees to run it.
Because they were paying people like $70,000 for that gig.
Yeah, because a lot of states it was union. There was a union job for it. Yep.
If you were a trained projectionist, did you ever splice single frames of pornography into family films?
Oh, there we go. Fight Club, baby.
We would splice things in and play tricks, but we didn't have access to that. AMCs didn't generally carry that kind of film. We did do fun things like take movies out. So when low budget movies, and you wouldn't know this if you weren't a projectionist, but they don't actually frame their shots to keep the mics and everything out of it. What they do is they only shoot to what's on screen, and they don't have the budget to actually try to mask it. So on all the low budget movies, there was always boom mics and all the stuff sitting right off frame.
Awesome.
So you could just tilt that thing down like a 1/4 inch, and it would be on screen. The entire movie would just be boom mics moving back and forth.
That's so great.
And so we did that. We would put red films in front of the screen so that it would look red when it was just a couple people in the theater, and they'd come out and try to get someone and be like, the screen's wrong, and then we'd go in and we'd pull this film off so it looked normal again, and be like, what's going on? What are you talking about? This is a completely normal movie. It just keep messing with people's heads. Oh, it was funny. To get to the comment. Yes, it was a great time because by the time I was in college, I was a manager, and I had the keys and the codes and everything. So, and I lived close enough where I could come home. I would just bring my friends, and we would just do showings anytime I felt like it, because I could thread the projector and watch whatever movie I wanted. when I finished my freshman year of college and we did our exams, I was like, "Hey, who wants to go see Gladiator? It comes out next week, but we've already got it." And so we went there and threaded it up and started watching Gladiator. And I could turn the sound system up. I remember it was the second was the second Mummy movie, the Scorpion King. Was
Yeah.
that this?
Yes, it was.
That one came out, and I actually, so when you had the decibel system for a sound system in the theater, it was actually negative numbers because we had the Sony digital system, and it normally a loud movie was set at like -3 or 4, and I turned it up to 1, and holy shit, was that thing like vibrating the entire theater like every time something came on. It was awesome. I was like, I didn't even know that our speakers could do that. I think I might have blown one out, but I never told anybody. So it was good times. It was a great job. Working in a theater is, especially if you love movies like I did, was one of the great jobs you could have as a teenager at the time. So I recommend. I don't know if I recommend it now. It's probably a whole different experience than it was back then. Oh, yeah. Star Trek 6. Oh, Undiscovered Country. That one is my favorite Star Trek movie of all time. I actually rate it above Wrath of Khan, so I'm a little bit different than a lot of people. I don't know, Slender. You don't think that Undiscovered Country is actually a better movie than Wrath of Khan?
No one does.
Come on. It's actually...
Back me up, culture.
I can understand people's argument for that.
Oh, don't play this both side thing.
Stop.
Oh, nuance. We're getting nuance. Let it happen.
Stop. I can understand people's arguments for that, but Wrath of Khan is still objectively the better film.
Oh,
I know, but it has the best. It has the best looking Enterprise of all time.
Here's the other cool thing. I saw the Star Trek the motion picture in theaters when the sound was
mono. Oh,
It was so bad. Sound direction, editing, everything that was happening in that film, especially at the end with Viger, was like getting ear fucked. It was terrible.
Well, that's because a lot of people don't know that, because we live in the world of theater surround sound and everything. That's why George Lucas invented that THX standard, because sound in theaters was terrible.
But here's something I learned though, Chad, and this is something you'll appreciate as a projectionist. The reason that in my theater that film sound was fucked was because they shipped the theater a wet print.
Oh shit, that's gonna fuck up everything.
Because it was so late getting that film to the theaters, it was still wet.
Oh, yeah.
And that happened in hundreds of theaters across the country.
The worst thing, like the wet theater, the wet print in a theater projection system is going to cause all sorts of problems. First will be the sound, because it won't read properly, because the sound reading part is actually an optical, that would actually read the soundtrack off the side of the film. It's like squiggly lines that would translate almost like a record player, right? The lines built into the record tell make the sound. So it would optically read what the sound is to make it for the speaker system. So that's going to screw it up. And the film's going to stick to each other and cause wraps, where it'll start wrapping and then melt, breaking the project. Polyester film does not rip apart. Like it'll just keep stretching till it breaks things. It'll melt. That'll happen really fast. Oh, so I, as a projectionist, I feel for whoever had to try to put that together, because that's a terrible thing. The closest one we ever had was Star Wars Phantom Menace. George Lucas was a pain in the ass about that movie. He sent it 4 hours before we were supposed to have the midnight showings. It arrived on a DHL. And it was like, look, we've got to put this together ASAP. We don't even have time to screen it to make sure that the print is good for like the biggest movie that had come out of all time at that point, Phantom Menace. People like to do revisionist history about Phantom Menace. That thing was huge. It was a huge, huge movie. And it was just like, George Lucas is trying to F us, man, because he didn't want any spoilers getting out. So he wanted to have the smallest window possible before those first showings. I was so pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, I am still of the. Ooh, hey, we got somebody in the back.
Let's bring in Brahma. What's up?
Undiscovered country is better than
Oh,
Wrath of Khan.
gross.
Yes!
Brahma's
Yes! Yes, thumbs up to Brahma for correcting the record there.
Barely.
Hey, Brahma,
Hey, CC.
suck it.
No,
Oh, that's right. You milk it instead.
I am the CEO of Brahma Bull's Milk. It's on the nameplate, right?
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't do the finger thing. All that.
What are you
little on
doing in here? I thought we were going to get a clean show. We only got like 6 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good at showing up late.
Brahma
you know
and
that,
Yeti,
yeah.
they pretty much, if they want to come in, they come in. Like,
Yeah, we've got the link
doors
for
open
whenever
those
we want
guys.
for this show.
On purpose?
We like everybody. Like I said,
I mean, I like Brahma. I don't know why we keep letting Yeti in here, but little Chad
Because I'm the
says
only
let
one
him
bringing
in.
people to your show.
because if the word likes to get out, I run this show along with Slender. Like, this is the old O&A show. It's a bunch of people hanging out, having a good time, just talking about whatever comes up. And I think it's an awesome show and an awesome hangout. And eventually we'll find the audience as they want to. But if we don't, it'll just be
But they don't want
amazing.
to. They run. They run from us.
We'll see
They just
what's
wait for you to
got.
cut it in the shorts.
Oh, no.
Okay. So, Brahma, you are the CEO of
I'm sorry, that's making me
Bull
laugh. too.
Sperm.
Bull's Milk. Yeti.
No, but bulls don't have milk. That's sperm. You can't
Well.
milk a bull.
Tell that to all the satisfied customers of Brahma Bull's Milk.
I mean,
Oh.
I watched City Slickers too, and that guy milked a bull, from
Tell
what I
that-
heard.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, tell that to all
Kingpin
Brahma's
also.
socks. Yeah, tell that to all Brahma's socks. They're a little crunchy, but
I think you're proving my point here.
oh,
Oh, look,
it's just
I
very
think you've
thick.
got
It's,
two assholes.
it's very
Can
thick
we-
milk.
can we trust a Canadian Yeti with two assholes on this topic? I don't know.
I-
Not at all.
Yeah, I'm not dumb enough to try and get milk from a bull.
Dude, Yeti, here's the thing. It goes down like milk if you swallow it immediately, but if you try and put it
You
in a
would
jar
know,
and
wouldn't
store it
you?
for later, it's not gonna taste right.
I mean, is that the Navy standard?
I mean, it is now.
Frank.
Yes.
I mean, that's a fact, Tina. That is a fact. They're much more grateful.
Oh, yeah. So, and this is a great show.
Tina's
for
always
culture.
got some great one-liners, especially on this subject. It is.
She's
it is
she's got great
weirdly
one-liners,
entertaining.
but terrible takes on Marvel. That's
Yeah. There's a certain amount of charm in that.
yeah.
I tried to
she's-
ignore the Marvel part.
She is good people. Like, look, I enjoy. I actually thought of this when I was watching Masters of the Universe the other day because I unabashedly love that movie. I saw it when I was like 7 or 8.
That's
when
because
did it come
Courtney
out?
Cox was hot.
You know,
And,
yeah,
but I recognize it's a bad movie, but I love
God.
I love it, and it's because I saw it when I was a kid, and I wonder, I'm like, when my son, if he saw like the Star Wars sequels now, would he actually like them? Like, am I? Because there's bad movies I really like, and it's because I watched them when I was a kid, so I just have fondness for them, and I was like,
So
Is it-
you just have to make sure you scream at him before and after the movie happens. That way there is never a good memory associated with it. And then that movie will never be something thought of as favorable.
Dude,
Yeti's
that's
parenting
the
advice:
difference
traumatize
between-
your child so he has a terrible
But
memory
that's
of
the
you.
difference between you and Bad Take Bojan, though. See, you realize it's a bad movie. Tina thinks some of the shit she says is good is actually good.
Well, yeah, like I enjoy, like, I'm thinking of the 80s movies I just enjoy because I saw them when I was a kid. Like, so Masters of the Universe.
Dude,
actually-
I like the
Garbage
original
Pail
Super
Kids.
Mario Brothers movie, and it's absolutely fucking terrible, but
Oh,
it's
that-
so
yeah,
bad I
that's-
enjoy it.
I'm going to bring one up.
Dude, you
as
need
a-
to talk to
as a
Tom
video
from
game
Midnight's Edge
adaptation.
about it.
Did you ever watch Double Dragon? You know, with
Yeah.
was it Scott Scott
Yeah,
Wolf or whatever his name is.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
But I was like 12. I liked that, and I actually really liked Street Fighter. I went to the
Oh no,
theater
Mortal
and saw
Kombat,
that.
man.
No,
Mortal
I like
Kombat
Mortal,
was
Um,
1,000
no,
times
The
better.
Lizard.
Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
No, Mortal Kombat's better because it's a better movie. But Street Fighter, when Jean-Claude Van Damme is giving his speech, I'm gonna kick Bison's ass so hard the next Bison wannabe's gonna feel it. It's hilarious. And then you can't tell me Raul Julia's performance wasn't for the ages. Like, he was doing it for his kids because he knew
Yep.
he was, sick, and he wanted to do a movie that they could actually watch and enjoy because they were really into it. It reminds me of when Frank Langella played Skeletor in the Masters of the Universe movie. He did it because his kid loved Masters, He-Man. So he just got into it, and he was one of the only actors that had a good time, and you can see it. I think Frank Langella's Skeletor performance, I love it. And
both you guys need to talk to Tom because on two of the subjects, the Super Mario Bros. Movie and Masters of the Universe. He is an expert on both of those movies and can tell you every single detail. Especially Super Mario Bros. Okay,
Yeah, that
there's
movie was-
like a lot more to the story than like
I don't know.
meets the eye.
It's sometimes like when it's movies that you love like that, I don't want all the behind the scenes drama knowledge because I want to. When I watch Master of the Universe, I reflect on it as a kid who watched it the first time without all of that data. And it's like learning too much. Like, you don't want to see how the sausage is made. I know that it's a canon film, so I know it was a shit show in the background. Like those guys, Golan Globus, were just.
Oh yeah,
They were-
Golden
yeah.
Globe was a hot mess.
Yeah, they were terrible producers. They were running shill games. I mean, I know the stories about Superman 4, and that's all I needed to really know about that. But I just, because I love it, I was like, I don't want to know about all the crazy stuff going on, man. I want to just enjoy it. It's
as
the kid
as
in
for
me.
your, like, I think even most kids will realize when there's a bad movie. Like, I remember when the second Mortal Kombat movie came out, Annihilation. So
Annihilation,
me
yeah.
and a bunch of friends, we were there at, like, the first showing. I think we might have skipped school in order to see this because we are all just so excited because we loved the first one, and we got out of that thing, and my God, we are so disappointed. Like, we were angry when Annihilation ended. It's like, what garbage did we just watch? There was no way to make that memory good.
Yeah, but that's 90% of the normies, man. Like,
Mhm.
I went into Star Wars Episode 7 and I came out of that movie theater angry. But everyone with me was like, it was pretty good. I think it's going to be awesome and amazing. And I'm like, I think it was kind of shit, and it's just going to get worse from here.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't know that people actually recognize that they just got to see A New Hope over again, featuring a chick that had no struggle at all.
I
Yeah.
assumed
I
it was
said that to
they were doing A
everyone.
New Hope.
I
Like-
mean, they basically did. New Death Star, the
Yeah.
chick who basically is going through the
Well,
exact
I
same
will-
hero's journey without any of the struggle.
Yeah.
No, so then it's not a hero's journey.
No, it's a Shiro's journey, which means there's nothing there to gain. That's the problem with Shiro's. But anyway, I grew more frustrated with that film the farther away I got from it. So by 2 days after I'd seen The Force Awakens, I was pissed.
I
Yeah.
actually
I was
was.
The
I
guess-
only
Just
thing
do
I
it.
thought that might be good about that was I thought they might be running an angle where Finn was going to also become
that's
a
where.
Jedi.
Yeah, so
Everybody did.
And
We were all-
they pulled away from that like it was a fucking.
Well, I
hot-
was thinking it would have been really fun, right? That Rey ends up being the bad guy, which makes sense because she's a fucking Palpatine, and then making Finn the good version, the light side Jedi. I think that would have worked out well. We would have had balance in the Force and people who
or
had
even
love.
doing the story of the twins from the extended universe where
Oh yeah, no,
Rey
that would work
falls to
too.
the dark side, but then
Okay,
Finn comes
right.
to try and bring her back.
the Jaina Solo is everything that they wanted Rey to be, and they couldn't pull it off. I mean,
No, they can't. They
Jaina Solo was amazing as a character. I
Right,
love
yeah,
Jaina
look,
Solo.
look, the amount of self-inserting that KK does not on screen is probably very significant, but what she does on screen kills these films.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
oh,
I mean,
oh, wait.
I mean, they
that'll happen
immediately
when
decanonized the entire expanded universe from all the books. Then they picked and chose parts of it that they liked because they couldn't come up with their own original fucking ideas,
you-
and they
Wait.
Frankenstein it all together and made
No,
the
but-
shittiest
I
trilogy
can't
in
forget
Star
this.
Wars
I
history.
can't forget this. Okay, did you hear that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to like
man.
knock out Indy in
We
the
know
new
that.
film?
yeah.
We knew that. We knew
Yeah,
that.
that-
We've
She's
known
gonna,
that for a
physically
year.
knock him out.
Yes.
She's going to punch him and knock him out.
To be
we've
fair,
known that
he's a
for a
fragile
year.
old
Phoebe's
man.
gonna knock you out. Yeah, Phoebe gonna knock you out.
Oh yeah, I mean the biggest indictment of Kathleen Kennedy that was self-made by her was when she did the interview where she was talking about Star Wars and she's like, it's not like a lot of other things. We didn't have any source material. to
Oh
go to."
God!
And I was like,
Oh.
in the ear hole.
I know.
Then
and I was
why
like,
can I take everything from your trilogy and see exactly what book it came
You
out of?
stole it from.
Not to mention, I have soured completely on Dave Filoni because the man,
Baloney.
yeah,
Oh, it's awful.
yeah, he has got a hard on for the characters he creates, and they're all the same girl. Ahsoka is
Dude.
Is
I
Hera,
guarantee
is
he's
Sabine.
a
They're all the
life-size
same
sex
person.
puppet of it.
He does. I've been saying that for years now, Yeti. He's fucking Ahsoka every night. The rubber version.
Every night.
But it's not just Ahsoka culture. Like, look at Hera from Rebels. It's the same character. It's like they're all girl boss.
He's
character. Like, it's
that-
the same
he is
thing.
he's incapable of anything significant, and he exposed himself at that women's conference talking about she bosses, lady bosses. But I got to get ready to go, guys.
Yeah.
I hate to draw it into a party because this was a lot of fun, and Brahma was late, so.
Yeah, Brahma.
Well, he was right on time for
Yeah.
himself.
Well, and I know Yeti wants to watch some kind of robot killing robot thing.
yeah, man. BattleBots season
So-
finale.
Well, I just
You
wanted
did
to say,
rope us into that shit, so
yeah.
we gotta watch it.
I wanted to say thanks to Culture for coming to the show this week.
Dude, I
was
loved
a-
it.
It was a great
I hope
time.
I hope you have me back. I feel like I was a terrible influence on you.
Oh, this is
No,
what,
this
this
was
is
a
the
good
best
one.
kind of show.
I
This
had a
is
lot
how-
of fun.
Yeah, this is what we do. We derailed the Wednesday stream, the Wednesday dump show the other day, doing
This
the same
what's
thing.
weird is okay. So what's weird is it's like okay, I knew we had topics, but I don't know what they were.
Yeah,
That's usually
That's
like
the-
there are times when we haven't even hit any of the damn time. Bring Matt on here just one time, and holy shit, we don't even get to our topics.
So I was last night. I was trying to explain what happens when you can't take a proper dump during the day, and I was ridiculed for like a long time. Brahma even participated in ridiculing me.
Oh,
He's
I
just not old
ridiculed
enough.
you all night.
That's fine.
I mean,
He
look,
just-
it's important to be regular. I'm gonna be.
I know,
I'm
I
gonna back
know.
Culture on that. I have a set time of day
Yeah.
where it happens, and it
Yeah.
keeps me feeling
Yeah.
good.
You've got a set time.
Well,
I
there's a
do.
level. There's a
I
level.
have
of
Chad
coffee
has
and a couple
time.
cigarettes, and it's go time whether I want to or not. So
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. You got it to get the engine started, right? But
yeah.
It's a routine, people. You get on routine.
Do you
feel a lot
have to
better.
have prune juice before this happens? Like,
no, I'm not that old, fucker.
No, he goes with Dr. Pepper because it's basically carbonated prune juice.
better than Mountain Dew?
I can't even remember the last time I had a Dr. Pepper. By the way, I still suggest that Diet Dr. Pepper is one of the better soft drinks, but there you are.
I like
Nothing
diet
diet is
ginger
good.
ale.
Oh. The vanilla flavor in Diet Dr. Pepper. Yeah, you don't
So
have to
that-
depend on notifications.
that-
Exactly. You don't have to have depends either, like Indiana Jones. Oh,
Just be careful, because if you don't ring that bell,
yeah.
you shit your pants because you won't get the notifications.
That is true.
So any new viewers who are coming to our show, which
Welcome.
who welcome and hit the subscribe, the like button, all that good
do
stuff.
that.
Because this is the kind of fun show we do where we just hang out and have a good time. I think it's
It
not
got
different than
ruined when
everything
Brahma
on
showed
YouTube.
up and we had to close it down. But
Everybody is welcome here, Yeti.
Even
Canadians.
yeah, even the the bull milker.
Well, I
He
mean,
might be Bill too. I don't know.
Well,
I
Maybe
mean,
that's something
he's the
about-
CEO. He doesn't milk the bulls anymore. He's got people for that.
Wow.
no, he's a
Technically, I am-
hands-on CEO.
Technically, I am the bull.
Yeah. Whoa.
on that note, I think we really need to stop the stream. I'm kidding. All right.
Time for BattleBots.
It's time for BattleBots. We'll be back next week, everybody. Have a great time. Bye.
Bye.